Well, here's some breaking news for you. If you have children in college, or if you're in college, and how it's going to affect student loans, Pell Grants, things like that from the federal government, President Trump is expected to sign an executive order today, March 20th, Thursday, first day of spring, to close the Department of Education. After he signs it, he'll have Linda McMahon, who's in charge of the Department of Education now, who used to be with the WWE, to do all of the necessary things to get the department closed. Trump's been trying to get this department closed for a while now, and today is the day that the order goes into effect. Linda McMahon is the directing education secretary, so she's over the Department of Education at this point, and that's who he's going to have, carry out the task to get it closed after he signs the order to close this department. So how will it affect you if you're in school, if you're out of school but still repaying student loans? Stay tuned, and here's the story. This is breaking news for today.
We're coming on the air with breaking news tonight. NBC News has just learned that President Trump plans to sign an executive order closing down the Department of Education. The move fulfilling a campaign promise to shutter the agency, which has long been a target of conservatives. But it's unclear how he'll legally do that, since Congress needs to sign off on officially closing a department of this kind. The order would be the culmination of weeks of effort by the Trump administration to wind down DOE. Trump's education secretary, Linda McMahon, has overseen a roughly 50% cut to the agency's workforce in what she has called the, quote, final mission of the department. The Education Department oversees tens of billions of dollars in grant money to schools across the country. But conservatives for years have said control of education should be returned entirely to the state and local level. They say it would empower parents to make choices about their children's education. For more on this, let's get right to NBC's senior White House correspondent, Garrett Haake, who joins us live tonight from the North Lawn. Garrett, this just breaking, but walk us through, what do we know about this order at this point?
Yeah, Ellison, I'm holding a copy of the fact sheet that will accompany this order when the president signs it tomorrow. It is the culmination of weeks of work from this White House and decades of work within the conservative movement that has long viewed the Department of Education as something of a boogeyman. The order directs the Secretary of Education, in this case Linda McMahon, to take every necessary step she can to facilitate, this says, the closure of the Department of Education and return education authority to the states. The White House takes some pains through information we've been given from a senior administration official to say things like Title I funding, student loans, and students with disabilities aid won't be touched in this effort. Frankly, Allison, some of this is aspirational. As you pointed out in the lead, it will take an act of Congress to ultimately shut down the Department of Education and transfer its authority back to the states. But the administration can take additional steps, like what they've already done, to eliminate positions within the department, fire career staff, and try to shift responsibilities elsewhere within the federal government. Now, the president intends to sign this executive order tomorrow here at the White House in a ceremony where he'll be joined by some supportive governors, including from Texas, Florida, and Indiana, where they're champing at the bit to get more of this control at state level. But some of my reporting over the last couple of weeks is that other states are not quite as ready, perhaps, to take over this authority. And so I think what you're seeing here today is an effort by the White House to take the next step in what could still be a quite lengthy process to accomplish this goal of transferring as much as possible of education authority back to the states. I will add one other note that's in this fact sheet, suggesting we'll see some language to this effect in the EO, that what's left of the Department of Education, this order says, the funds will not be allowed to advance what they call DEI or gender ideology, another issue that this White House has been intently focused on going back to Inauguration Day. Ellison?
Garrett, as this idea had come up and seemed more immediate, particularly with those layoffs that happened at the department, a lot of people shifted to worrying about what it would mean for student loans. Is there any indication that there would be some sort of immediate impact felt by this executive order, or is it going to be a wait until Congress gets involved situation?
I think it's very much an open question. I mean, if you look at something like FAFSA and the federal process by which many American students apply for student loans, if not the Department of Education, who would administer that? How would it work? Where would you send your questions, and who would control that money if you're not applying to a school within your state? I think all of these are questions that are going to have to be answered either by the federal government or by the states if they get that far. But again, it's hard for me as a former congressional correspondent to see how they're able to muster the votes, especially in the Senate, to pass legislation that would be necessary to make this broader goal a reality anytime soon.
And Garrett, really quickly before I let you go, they would need on Capitol Hill some Democrats to vote in favor in order to break the filibuster rule, right?
Yeah, that's right. This would require 60 votes in the Senate. I don't know that those 60 votes exist there. And frankly, I don't know if the majority of votes exist in the House. So again, some states are going to be more ready for this action than others at the jump. And that could cause some cold feet from otherwise supportive House Republicans if their own states say, we're not ready for this kind of responsibility for the entirety of the educational system.
If you go to the gym and all you do.
Okay, so there you have it. That's what they plan to do. And, what do you guys think about that with this closure? They still need Congress to vote on it, but, it looks like it's going to happen. And here it is right here. Closing the department requires an act of Congress, but even without formally shutting it down, Trump administration could make it impossible for employees to carry out their work, as it has done with the U.S. Agency for International Development. Again, when we talk about layoffs, how many jobs will be impacted by the closure of the Department of Education as well. So again, we look at that in terms of people who are going to have an income loss from this. And, like I said, layoffs are going around, and I have another video coming about that and just talking about holding on to your job if you can, and also referencing, what the federal government is doing that's causing other people to lose their jobs. But this is the latest breaking news here with the United States Department of Education. They hold a lot of the federal student loans, and, definitely borrowers and people who are still in school and have yet to have to start repaying, we'll have to definitely be keeping an eye on this. So what do you all think in the comments about Department of Education possibly closing? Looks like it will close. Are you worried about your student loans? If you have children in college, are you worried about how they may be able to pay? Let me know down in the comments. Is closing this department a good thing or a bad thing? Like, share, and subscribe. And the channel is Facts or Feelings, all one word, no spaces. Put that in the YouTube search, Facts or Feelings, no spaces, and my channel comes right up. So we'll see what happens with how we pay for education once this is all complete and the Department of Education is no more. I'm out.